communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
For too long, American Indian tribes have faced a competitive disadvantage when litigating against powerful forces. With its American Indian law and policy practice, Robbins Kaplan, LLP, seeks to redefine excellence for high-stakes litigation in Indian country. They have worked hand in hand with tribes to implement the Tribal Law and Order Act, fighting against diminishment of tribal lands and natural resources, and improving public safety on reservations. The Robbins Kaplan American Indian Law and Policy Practice serves tribes and individuals on commercial, government investigations, agency and tribal boundary disputes, as well as personal injury. Founded and led by former United States Attorneys Brendan Johnson and Tim Purdon, their American Indian Law and Policy Practice exists to bring justice to tribal clients whose claims in the past have been dismissed or ignored due to their underdog status. If you or your tribe are facing legal issues, contact robinskaplan.com or call toll-free at 1-800-553-9910.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, clear and very cold, down to 13 below. Then Tuesday, sunny and cold with a high of 3 below. Nightingale at 26th and Lyndale in Minneapolis is your cozy, comfortable neighborhood bar and restaurant. Now open daily from 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. with their full menu available until midnight. Check them out today at nightingalempls.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake. Welcome to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Cudagy to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. You're listening to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. My native name is Wakanja Hade, which means distant thunder. And we talk local and national Native news and events. And as you know, Wendy, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Midtown Phillips Neighborhood Association. You could join them tomorrow, Tuesday, January 25th, for a community discussion with Council Member Jason Chavez and Park Board Commissioner Becky Alper at 6:30 p.m.
You know, radio's fun. We have all these little things going on, and like pre-records and things like that.
That we keep forgetting about.
Well, I don't think we should say we. I think me. But, you know, I try to do my good radio voice, and then I'm walking all over it with my bad radio voice, live bad radio voice. But, you know, this is a new year, so we this is our 5th season here on AM 950 and all over Turtle Island. Giving a special shout out to Madison and Milwaukee and Chicago and all these other affiliates that we have that we are so happy and proud to have. Please be merciful of me.
People love you just the way you are, Robert. That's part of your charm.
To try to please. Yeah. So, hey, speaking of which, let's switch gears here and get a little serious. And we do, or I should say, Ogama does the news every day. And you don't hear this news anywhere else, Wendy. So let's get Ogama on before I lose my mind. Welcome, Ogama.
Hi, Anim Bonjour, everybody. I'm Ogama Ganuinkwe. My name means strong golden eagle woman. Thank you, Marty, for saying what we all say on the show every single day. Free political prisoner Leonard Peltier. making a big push for that this year on Native Roots Radio. Robert and Wendy, I know I've mentioned that before, but it's something I want to take the time to mention too. Leonard Peltier is a political prisoner who's been in prison now for how many years, Robert?
Over 45, right? 1975. So he's the longest political prisoner in the United States history. Yeah, and also, Ogama, now that you're bringing that up too, at our store, Native Roots Trading Post, we are partnering with a free Leonard Peltier group that I talk to Leonard all the time. We're selling his prints there, and also dog tags that you could see on reservation dogs, and other things like T-shirts too with free Leonard Peltier.
Yeah, and the artwork is actually made by Leonard Peltier with his own two hands. While he was in prison, he was able to paint these pictures, and they made prints out of them.
Yeah, and we have one hanging self-portrait. We have a couple of those too. But yeah, good point, Ogama. Sorry about that. We're taking up her section.
Oh, no worries. It's okay. It's Monday. So some updates from this weekend on the water protector front here in Minnesota this weekend. Water protectors gathered in Bemidji, Minnesota to talk to one another and to honor the fight that has happened here in Minnesota, and to talk about how things are going to go going forward here in Minnesota. It's not just continuing to try to shut down Line 3 and to point out the gross negligence of Enbridge Energy's construction of the Line 3 project here, but it's also working with our relatives and neighbors over in Wisconsin for Line 5, as Line 5 moves through Wisconsin and continues to run illegally in Michigan. So it was a beautiful event this weekend where Winona LaDuke blanketed many of the influential water protectors, and some people that were, people that we all know, like Nancy Bolio and Don Goodwin, and also some people that were, more behind the scenes who did a lot of video editing and those kinds of things, who took that time. The people who lived in the camps for weeks or months on end throughout this past year in all types of weather. So miigwech all of you as we continue to work and go forward in these atrocities and do our best to protect the water here in Minnesota.
Did you hear their song, Ogama? They came out, they recorded a song too. I don't know if you heard that, but that was on AM 950 with on another show, but the girls up there in the deep north, Winona and crew, recorded a song.
It's great.
What? No, I missed that one, Robert. You're going to have to send that over to me so we can talk about it tomorrow, because I did happen to miss that one. I'm always looking for news, and I guess I missed the music video, but that sounds really exciting. I just want to let everybody know who's in Wisconsin listening to us this coming Thursday, January 27th from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. online via Shutdown Line 5 Protect the Water is going to be an online event about learning the basics and how to testify at the upcoming virtual DNR hearing in opposition of the Line 5 tar sands oil pipeline in Wisconsin. So you're going to want to stay tuned. Check out Native Roots Radio's Facebook for that event information. Other things that are happening around the country, around Indian country, is the IHS Scholarship Program is now accepting applications for scholarship support for the 2022 and 2023 academic year. You have to submit your online application and upload your documents by February 28th of 2022 at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. They will have a required list of documents to apply, and you do need to have them uploaded online in the application system. There's also an IHS scholarship comparison chart because not all health fields are considered for funding, but many of them are. Make sure you go to ihs.gov/scholarship/apply if you are looking into the medical profession for college in the upcoming year to see if you can get your application in. And I know that IHS, some of their funding can help pay for a significant portion of your education, and then it just requires that you would work at an IHS registered facility for a certain amount of time after you've completed your degree, which is a pretty good deal, I think, in a lot of cases. But that's always something that you can consider too. And there's also careers available through IHS directly, so you're definitely going to want to check that check that out if you are brave enough to go into healthcare after the last 2 years of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Oh, no kidding.
Yes, warriors there. So anybody that is going into healthcare, let me give you a shout out as well. Two really awesome things that are happening with murals. There's two artists, Emily Kewageshig did a Seven Grandfathers Teaching themed mural at the Bridlewood Mall for the city of Toronto in Canada. It is her biggest mural to date, and it is beautiful. I believe Robert Pilot shared it online, and it's just like, it's absolutely stunning. And then another artist in Canada, Winnipeg-based artist Blake Anjakaneb, who is Laxalt First Nations member and lives in Winnipeg, also was able to paint a mural for the headquarters of TikTok in Toronto, which is really, really cool.
Wow.
We know we have a big presence as Native people on TikTok, and for TikTok to come and do a mural, have a Native artist do a mural, it's really beautiful. And then this artist, and excuse me if I'm pronouncing your last name wrong, Blake Anjakaneb, actually brings in a lot of pop culture into his native art. So he has, Spider-Man and Yoda and Betty White and, Studio Ghibli, some of those kinds of things, all worked into his Ojibwe artwork. It's just really beautiful to see. And then I do have one more quick one too. This past weekend, the Navajo Nation is conducting unmanned aircraft system flights, which are also more commonly known as drones, but they're hoping to use those drones to help deliver needed supplies to their community across their reservation. So test flights went off this weekend in Navajo Nation for drone delivery.
Great idea. Hey,
Cool.
give us a call, 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Up next, we're going to have Dr. Stately on, and then we're going to do a little chat. One thing I just learned today is that TikTok has an office in Toronto. I thought they were from China. We'll be right back after this short break.
Stay with us. Hey, Olgama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
The Midtown Phillips Neighborhood Association invites you to a virtual community discussion coming up on Tuesday, January 25th. You'll have the chance to engage with Minneapolis City Council member Jason Chavez and Park Board Commissioner Becky Alper, along with your neighbors. So get involved with your local community and be part of the Midtown Phillips Neighborhood Association with their virtual community discussion this coming Tuesday at 6:30. Find the Zoom link for the Tuesday meeting at midtownphillips.org. That's midtownphillips.org.
I heard sex trafficking happens a lot in Indian country. What is that?
Here are some of the real reasons why sex trafficking happens in Indian country. Unequal gender roles that were forced on us by colonization. Communities don't have enough resources. Silence around domestic and sexual violence. Lack of attention and justice for missing and murdered Indigenous people. There's a lot of behavior that keeps our communities out of balance. These are just a few true reasons why Native communities are targeted by traffickers. When these acts of violence happen in our communities, it opens us all up for exploitation.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
January is Cervical Cancer Awareness Month, and American Indian women in Minnesota are twice as likely to develop cervical cancer. Native Roots Radio is partnering with Minnesota's SAGE Breast and Cervical Cancer Program to talk about cervical cancer. Watch live Monday, January 24th at 7:30 p.m. on Native Roots Radio's Facebook page. Guests will include public health experts within the American Indian community who will share important information about cervical cancer in our Native communities. Tune in Monday at 7:30 p.m. on Native Roots Radio's Facebook page.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot. Hey, welcome back.
Hey, this portion of the show is brought to you by the Midtown Phillips Neighborhood Association, which is tomorrow, Tuesday, January 25th, for a community discussion with Council Member Jason Chavez and Board Member Commissioner Betty Alper at 6:30 p.m.
Oh, hey. So, hey, Ogama, we got a big show here at 7:30 on Facebook Live and YouTube. Do you want to bring up any what it's about? I know it's about cervical cancer, and I think it's Cervical Cancer Month here in Minnesota. And we're going to have some guests talk about some doctors and whatnot. What else are we going to do? I should read the script too before we have the show, right?
Yes, yep, I hope you do. So the event we're having tonight on Native Roots Radio starting at 7:30 p.m. Is in partnership with the Minnesota SAGE Cancer Screening Program, which is a branch of the Minnesota Department of Health. We're going to have guests on from the American Indian Cancer Foundation and from Native American Community Clinic, which is very exciting because we always have Dr. Stately on Mondays. The event is called Reducing the Impact of Cervical Cancer in Native Women. American Indian women in the U.S. and in Minnesota are twice as likely to develop cervical cancer, have much higher rates of death from cervical cancer, and are often diagnosed at late stages, making it harder to treat and cure. So Native Roots Radio and the MN SAGE Cancer Screening Program are partnering to have an important discussion about the cervical cancer rates in Native women and how you can protect yourself in your future with screening and testing and more from the SAGE Cancer Screening Program. So Melissa Buffalo from the American Indian Cancer Foundation will be joining us, as well as Mariah Johnson from Native American Community Clinic. And then there'll also be 2 representatives from the SAGE Cancer Screening Program. So really looking forward to talking about this important issue tonight.
Really important. Thank you so much for letting everybody know about tonight's show after the show. Wendy, let's talk a little sacred animals this section too, seeing that we have no phone calls, but we also, I want to play sometimes stump the audience when it comes to like trivia on our sacred animals. But go ahead. Introduce yourself.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Hanaji Hihani, and that means cares for them in Ho-Chunk Nation language. I was given that name by my Dega Curtis, who goes by Mashke Hanajinga, which means walks on white clouds. And always I like to thank Curtis for that meaningful name. I am a volunteer humane policy volunteer leader for the Humane Society of the United States.
Happy Monday.
I forgot what I am. But I work on animal issues at the local and state level, and it's always my pleasure to talk about animals because that's what I'm passionate about. I have an article here dated January 12th from the New York magazine Curbed, and an article by Alyssa Walker, and it's really awesome. The world's largest wildlife crossing is finally underway in Los Angeles. So, Robert, we've talked about these wildlife crossings in the past. Thousands and thousands of animals every year are wandering our streets, and as long as us humans keep building more roads, they get killed. So the animals get killed, and then the car gets into an accident with the animal, and then the car has to go into the body shop, and there might be injuries with people also. So it's really costs overall a lot of money for animals to get hit by cars. So these wildlife crossings are really doing a wonderful job in cutting those down. Last October, a gray wolf with a purple radio collar was spotted wandering in the mountains about 50 miles north of downtown Los Angeles. OR 93, named that because he was traveled from a pack near Mount Hood, Oregon, was the first gray wolf to roam into Southern California in a century. And the last one observed in the region had been trapped in 1922. But after weeks of excitement from wolf watchers, OR 93 was found dead by the eye 5 freeway. According to the scientists who tracked his movements, OR 95 had crossed dozens of roads and even several highways during his 1,000-mile journey. This made his death all the more devastating. Had he made it to the other side of this final freeway, he would have almost certainly survived and most likely thrived, says Beth Pratt, California Regional Executive Director for the National Wildlife Federation. Directly across from the freeway from where he was killed is the largest private property in California, a 270,000 acre nature preserve. And they say it's our fault, she said. We failed him. I wish we had the crossing in place for him. But they're building this wildlife crossing over there, and it will cost a lot of money, but in the long run, it's going to save a lot of money.
Those are awesome.
They really are. And you know what? The animals are really smart. They learn how to go use them like right away. And a lot of these crossings, what they do is they mimic the land, like they make them very lush and they put rocks out and, the same type of plants and things on these crossings that the animals find. And then they set up cameras, right? So you could see who uses them.
Wow.
And it's really amazing.
I also saw over the years, we've seen bridges too underneath where they walk too.
Yep. They do them
where
underneath
instead
also.
Of crossing the highway, they go underneath the bridge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or they make a dugout underneath the road.
Exactly. Yeah, it really is. Let's see here. According to the Federal Highway Administration, about 300,000 wildlife collisions happen in the U.S. roadways each year. Those are just estimates, says Pratt. And that's just the big stuff. But many are not reported, right? Some people will hit a deer or whatever, or an animal and just, go their merry way and not even report it. So it's definitely underreported. And it just overall costs a lot of money. But this is in Los Angeles, and I'm really surprised that it's in Los Angeles that it is the biggest one. The crossing is planned for Liberty Canyon, where the 157,000-acre Santa Monica Mountains National Recreation Area extends over the 101 freeway, bridging a barrier that prevents wildlife from moving north to the other open spaces. While many wildlife crossings have a more Unitarian design, a bridge in Utah with a viral webcam looks like the gravel drainage ditch.
Wow.
Right? Some of them just look like blah, but the animals still use it. The Annenberg Wildlife Crossing will be lush, planted parkway with matte materials to deflect bright headlights and insulation to quiet the roar of the cars below. Wow, that's really cool too.
What's weird is we probably would have never seen anything like this 30 years ago, 20
No,
years ago.
no.
When this was proposed, I thought, no way people will do this. And here we are. It's doing it and it's working.
It really is. And they're saying landscaping with a natural flora is currently being used in this area, ensuring that the 200 by 165-foot bridge will attract pollinators like butterflies and bees, and that the naturalized path will provide safe passage for mountain lions, as well as other animals like coyotes, bobcats, rabbits, even snakes and toads will use this crossing because the habitat that they're going to build on this bridge is going to mimic their natural habitat. So that's really unbelievable.
I wonder if any crows will come in.
They could
eat some peanuts.
Absolutely, they could. Restoring the biodiversity that once existed in this canyon, particularly in fire-prone areas, also happens to be an excellent climate resiliency strategy. So it's even helping the environment as well.
Wow.
Yeah. Speaking of crows, I just want to tell everybody about our crow that comes, right? He's been coming to our house. It's
Limpy?
We call him Limpy because he actually has a limp. And I mean, they all look the same. Sometimes we have 6 crows in our backyard because I throw out peanuts and stuff like that. So they come and have a water dish out there that's plugged in and it's heated. So they have fresh water and they drink from it every day. I just went out there before and put fresh water in it. Actually, I didn't. I scooped up some snow and I put it in there because I know it'll melt. But this one crow, he's been coming. I know it's 3 or 4 years, but he has a limp, and it's actually his little left leg that
ankle.
I
think his ankle.
It's ankle. But he limps. But he's really smart because he'll fly up on our garage roof, and he'll squawk at Robert.
Well, at first he'll squawk, and then
Right.
he'll get my attention.
Mhm. Yeah, he'll squawk because he knows that you see him and you're like, oh, there's Limpy. Let me throw out some stuff, and he'll wait. They're really smart.
But today.
Yeah. What happened today?
We had 6 of them,
We
his
had
little
6
buddies.
Yeah, he brought his buddies over, but that's okay.
Reminds me of
too.
those old cartoons and them talking on the fence.
Yeah,
and-
I'm still waiting for one of them to bring us like a little present because all I do, even yesterday, I read an article about this crow that the guy gave him food all the time, and the crow brought him a dime. So it's known that these crows will find little shiny objects around and bring you gifts. But
Well,
I'm
every
still waiting for a gift.
I think this crow thinks every day is a gift. That's why they call it the present.
Exactly, Robert.
No, good segment, Wendy. And segueing into our crows.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have some people, like we have our friend Barry who's living in by the river, and he had foxes, deers, and I'm sure he has squirrels because you know what he does with squirrels. We feed him and he,
makes hats
eats
out of them.
No, he eats them. Hey, you're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and up next, Dr. Stately.
Stay with us.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Hey, Auntie, it's been a while. How have you been?
I've been good. I haven't really been able to go anywhere.
Yeah. Hey, have you gotten the COVID vaccine?
I have. Have you?
Well, I've been unsure of getting the vaccine because of the side effects, and I've heard other people get some nasty symptoms.
The side effects of COVID pale in comparison to what would happen if you contracted COVID. Getting the shot is easy and keeps everybody safe.
This message is brought to you by McGee Communications and Minnesota Department of Health.
Hey, Wendy, what are we doing for dinner after the show?
How about we go to J. Selby's on 169 Victoria Street in St. Paul? They have a delicious plant-based menu that's compassionate and environmentally sustainable.
I'm getting their spot-on vegan Big Mac, the dirty secret.
You can pick up and they deliver within a 5-mile radius, or you can call them at 651-222-3263 or visit jselbys.com.
Well, you sold me, Wen. Let's go order at J. Selby's tonight.
I'm hungry.
This is David from The David Pakman Show, where we expose the Hatriots, liars, and Trumpists on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Bonjour relatives, my name is Deanna Standing Cloud. I'm from the Red Lake Nation, and I live in Minneapolis today. As the weather gets colder, you're probably going to spend more time indoors, but it's important to stay safe and healthy. The COVID-19 pandemic is still not over, and now the flu season is upon us. So protect you and your loved ones by getting vaccinated against both the flu and COVID-19. COVID booster shots have now been approved for Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson. And you're eligible if you're over 65 and if you're over 18 and have underlying health conditions or work in a high-risk setting. What's cool is your booster shot does not need to be of the same brand as your original series of shots. And you can receive a booster shot of any brand that's available to you. Children over the age of 5 are now eligible for a vaccine as well. So let's protect our relatives in Indian country this winter and get vaccinated. Be a vaccinative like me. Find a vaccination site by calling 651-304-9986 or visit vaccineconnector.mn.gov. Miigwech Bizendawian.
Navigating COVID while protecting yourself can be difficult. Fortunately, there's a hotline you can call with any questions. The Department of Indian Work St. Paul partnered with the Minnesota Department of Health to open the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. They provide information on vaccines, booster shots, and testing sites.
Right now, booster shots are available to anyone over the age of 18 for those who are eligible. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline can also help with housing, food, medical, and educational support. If you or someone you know has questions about COVID-19, vaccinations, booster shots, or testing, please call 651-304-9986. Again, the number is 651-304-9986. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline is open for calls Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, clear and very cold, down to 13 below. Then Tuesday, sunny and cold with a high of 3 below. Have Snap Construction certified professionals check your home's insulation. Set up an appointment by calling 612-333-SNAP or visit snapconstruction.com.
Hi, this is Representative Sharice Davids from Kansas. I'm Ho Chunk, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot. And Wakanjahade, welcome.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Alliant Energy, powering beyond.
Awesome. Hey, it's Monday, and we have Dr. Stately on from the Native American Community Clinic, and we are the CEO of it. And we have tonight we have a show after this show, Dr. Stately. I don't know if you know about this, but we're partnering with NAC, and we have Mariah Johnson's going to be on a big show we're doing with the SAGE program in Minnesota Department of Health. And so we're really excited to partner with you guys. And this is the month we talk about this, and we should always be talking about it, but cervical cancer, and but it's going to be a great show, and it's going to be run. I'll just introduce people and then back away, and then let them run the show. Welcome.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm really excited about that partnership, and I think it's really important that we try to amplify the message and the critical message of getting your colon cancer screenings and cervical cancer, which is actually completely almost 100% preventable as a disease, right? We have a lot of ability to capture it early and help people identify it and then get the treatment that they need. It's a really important disease for me. My mom died of cervical cancer when I was 25 years old. And she went years, probably 3 or 4 years with, and this was in the 80s. So, 85, 86, 87, she went a few years kind of, being misdiagnosed and having it identified as something different. And just, over the last 40 years, we've been able to significantly increase the ability to screen people for cervical cancer and other forms of cancers, many of them which are disparately impacting Native people, Native women, breast cancer, and those kinds of things as well. And even with that being true, we still do a really poor job of identifying people early in the disease process. And like anything, the earlier you identify it, the better the better the prognosis is. You can treat it faster, and there's a lot you can do to increase quality of life and prevent death. So,
I think people need advocates. I think I can always lean on Wendy if there's something going on with the old plumbing or whatever, and talk to her about it. But people out there don't have advocates, right?
They don't.
Yeah. And I think, something like cancer and other kinds of conditions that impact us at greater disparate rates are hard for some of our folks to understand. I know that when if I go to the doctor, like with my grandma, or if I go to the doctor with like somebody in my family members, and I happen to go with them, and the doctor doesn't describe things or explain things in sort of common language that they understand, I'll ask them to say, could you like speak to them in everyday language that makes sense to them? that kind of thing. Can you explain this so that they can go home and explain it to their family, right? If like you can explain it to them in that way, then it makes it more digestible, and I think it also makes it less fearful for them. So.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing too is like a lot of these diseases, you don't really get symptoms early on, right? You don't get any symptoms. You don't feel anything. So getting screened is really, really important, because by the time you do have symptoms with some of these things, it's already too late.
Yeah, for sure. It is, and that is the situation. I mean, I've had real world impacts on my family and my community with cancer as recently just as a few weeks ago. Things that could have possibly been prevented or caught early if we had just if they were able to get screened earlier, if they were able to sort of get access to doctors. And certainly within the context of the pandemic right now, it's been really challenging for people to just get in to see the regular doctor. I think ironically for my own self, like I think I've talked about this publicly. I've lived with HIV for 30 years. And when I tried to schedule my follow-up this past March with my HIV specialist, she was no longer at that clinic that I'd gone to, right? And but I didn't receive a letter. I didn't receive any notification that she left, and I'm sure it had a lot to do with the impact of the staffing and a few other things in the infectious disease clinic. But it's in that type of a situation. Like, I'm a guy who has some pretty good resources. I think other people would be struggling with like how to figure out, where to go next if like all of a sudden you don't have access to the person who you've been seeing for 5 and 10 years, right?
Wow, Wendy.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would just give up. Absolutely, they would. They
sure.
would, and
For sure.
they would just kind of put it in the back of their mind and let time pass and not take care of it. The other thing too, I think it's important for people to pay attention to what's going on in their bodies, and if they notice anything different or something doesn't feel right, a lot of people will just ignore it and not get it checked out, when I think that it's really important to, talk to your doctor and go get checked out.
Absolutely. I know that many health systems now have navigators that help people with those kinds of situations where they sort of like don't know where to go, who to call, how to set up appointments. They don't, and then lots of health systems have CHWs or something like that, where you can kind of phone in and ask questions. I think it's really important that anytime, like we are the persons that know our bodies best. Like, we live in them 24/7, right? And if there's anything that shifts and changes in our bodies, when we start to feel things like pain, or we start to feel aches and those kinds of things, if we feel all of a sudden a shift or a change in our everyday experience of living in our bodies, we should talk to somebody, right? Our bodies usually send us signals and indicators that there's something critical to pay attention to. If we do a better job of that, listening to our bodies and the signals that it sends us, we can oftentimes catch problems very early on. So.
And you still have to really, especially with cervical cancer, my understanding is you really still have to stay on top of that, because
Mm-hmm.
there's different kinds, right? If you got the prevention as a young person, it could be something else, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
Yeah, there's other cervical cancers caused by other than HPV.
I want to, and I think tonight our conversation with Mariah includes some representation from the American Indian Cancer Foundation, correct? So just remind people that there are resources for you to check into. You can, Google and look up information on the American Indian Cancer Foundation. They serve tribal communities all across the United States. They have useful information there. If you're a NAC patient or a client that uses our services, you can always, if you need to sort of talk to somebody, you can always sort of call and make an appointment, or even do a nurse consult. Those are things that are important to kind of follow up on and just get, it doesn't hurt to talk to somebody. It doesn't hurt to reach out and say, hey, I'm having this experience, and should I get screened? Should I should I follow through on this?
Yeah, we're gonna have Melissa Buffalo of AICAF on, and we all know Melissa's been around for a while in different capacities on the Avenue.
Yep, she's awesome. So I'm glad she's going to be part of that panel.
Right, and it's exciting, and I think part of what we do here at Native Roots Radio. I just want to give you a quick shout out, Dr. Stately. Is I think these kind of things that we support are opening up to us to get the word out there, and we know how to do that. And so I just want to say Pinigigi to you and your organization too and especially you for coming in on every Monday. And I know life's busy, and you have 2 kids, and you're kind of a kid, so you're a little high maintenance. So it's and I'm still trying to get over calling you Tony. I can't call you Tony until I know you for a few more years.
No. Tony sounds like somebody who comes and visits you when you don't do the things you're supposed to do.
Forget about it, Tony.
Forget about it. Yeah, right. So call me Anthony.
Yeah. But hey, so we got another segment too, but we got a couple minutes left here. There's so many moving balls and vessels and things. Wendy's going to New York now. We have people in our family that have COVID for the second time. It's just crazy. That's all I can say.
It's it's the last several weeks have been quite interesting experience with the Omicron surge and staffing shortages, everything from staffing shortages. There's shortages on toilet paper again. Who thought that we'd revisit that issue, right? A few other things. So I just think that one of the things that, I'm hoping that all of us can sort of kind of look at what's happening around us and take that as an indication of how critically important it is to do everything we can to stop this pandemic from spiraling out of control again, even worse than the last couple of surges, which is, get your vaccine if you can, if you're eligible, get a booster if you're eligible, encourage mask wearing in large groups, stay home if you're sick, vaccinate your children 5 and above if you're able to in your current location, because 1/3 of new cases are happening among very young children, and it's very sad that those little ones are getting sick.
Really sad, really sad. We just had I used to teach high school, and we had a friend of ours stop by real quick, and it's just insane what's going on here in St. Paul, where 4 teachers are out, 10 teachers are out, then they're almost like rotating through. It just sounds just so horrible for everybody, the students and the teachers right now.
It's happening everywhere. It's happening in healthcare. It's happening in every service industry, but you might be more concerned that there's nobody there to sort of treat your heart attack or your cancer than you would be if there wasn't somebody there to serve you a muffin. So, I think those are really important things to sort of remember, right? So.
Absolutely. Hey, we got to take a quick break. Will you stay with us, Dr. Stately?
Absolutely. Sure.
Awesome. We're with Dr. Stately of Native American Community Clinic and on the Avenue in Minneapolis in the Twin Cities. We'll be right back talking more mental health and whatever else comes up with Dr. Stately. We'll be right back.
Stay with us. Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
The Midtown Phillips Neighborhood Association invites you to a virtual community discussion coming up on Tuesday, January 25th. You'll have the chance to engage with Minneapolis City Council member Jason Chavez and Park Board Commissioner Becky Alper, along with your neighbors. So get involved with your local community and be part of the Midtown Phillips Neighborhood Association with their virtual community discussion this coming Tuesday at 6:30. Find the Zoom link for the Tuesday meeting at midtownphillips.org. That's midtownphillips.org.
Hi, I'm Anna and I'm 8 years old and I'm getting my COVID vaccine. If you're between 5 and 11 years old, you can get vaccinated too. Getting the jab might seem a little scary, but there is lots of good reasons to do it. You'll be protected from COVID and you'll be less likely to spread it to people like family and friends. Have your parents find a vaccination site by calling 651-304-9986 or visit vaccineconnector.mn.gov.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot. Wakanja Hade.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Oh, Dr. Staley just got a last minute howl in there.
That was a good one.
Well, we're talking a lot of different things. Cat's yelling at me as usual. We're talking talking a lot of things, and I don't know. I don't want to mention the Packers or anything because we're in Milwaukee and Madison, in Wisconsin. We're all over. So I just that's all I'll say. I'll just leave that out there.
Well, anyway, yeah, I'm not going to say anything either.
Could I ask a hypothetical question?
The Vikings have not won the Super Bowl yet.
Nothing to do with
okay.
A hypothetical.
Sure.
Hypothetical. Okay, so hypothetically, at the start of this COVID virus, and then the vaccines came out, if everyone was able to get vaccinated when they were supposed to get vaccinated, do you think that we would have already eradicated the virus? If everyone was able to get vaccinated when they were supposed to get vaccinated, everyone, not 80% or 90%, like everybody just went and got vaccinated.
Well, I don't know. Are you asking my personal opinion or my professional opinion?
Well, let's have them both.
I took it out of the question, but okay.
It's hypothetical, remember?
Well, I mean, hypothetically, I guess we'd be much further along. I mean, the thought process is that it's here are the things that we do know. One is that one thing we do know is that this is the fastest, most rapid response we've ever had in vaccine development ever in the history of making vaccines, right? But and a lot of people sort of kind of take issue with that. They're like, oh, well, other vaccines took 30, 40, 50 years to develop. Like, I don't know if I trust this, right? I don't know what's in it, and I don't want to put that in my body if I don't know what's in it, and that kind of thing. And it's like, it took less time to develop the chicken nugget, but people love to consume those things, and they don't know what's in that either. But here's the thing is, like, we worked on as the medical industry and a scientific community has worked on improving vaccine development and developing this specific mRNA technology over the last 15, 20 years, such that we're able to retool and develop something fairly rapidly. Now, call me crazy, I consider that to be synergistic or kismet, like when the things that we've been doing over the last several decades sort of kind of align with what's happening currently. That's kind of like I step back and think, wow, well, Creator had a plan, right? And kind of, it's like, you go back to that joke about like, have you ever heard that joke about like, the guy's, his house is flooding around him and he's standing on the top of it, the roof of his house, and the water's rising, and he prays to his creator and says, send me some help. And a guy in a boat comes, a guy in a helicopter comes, and each time, he says, well, no, I'm just waiting for God to save me, kind of a thing. Here's like, when we're offered these tools, like, like if we don't really use our intuition and also our our intelligence to make our best intelligent response, sometimes it's just, it's not seeing not seeing the forest for the tree, right? And that's really, in public health, that's what you have to sort of do. You have to sort of like not worry about this one tree. You have to look at the whole entire forest, the whole entire population, what's best for the entire population. And in this situation, what we do know is vaccines really seriously mitigate serious disease, illness, and death, right? They also happen to prevent the ability for you to pass the virus to another individually significantly, because your viral load significantly goes down when you are vaccinated, right? And there's a certain amount of critical virus that has to be in you and in your system for you to be able to pass things from one person to another, right? The same is true for other things like HIV and a bunch of other things. So understanding that basic concept, the value of the vaccine helps to shorten the time in which the duration of the disease is allowed to do a number of things. What we've seen already over the last 2 years of this pandemic is that the variants that have been able to sort of happen as a result of this particular virus is multiple strains of the variant of the virus that present different challenges every single time it's allowed to mutate and then spread rapidly, right? The Omicron is a really good example of that. This one was more virulent and stronger and moved more rapidly than the Delta variant. Thankfully, it wasn't as potent or damaging as the Delta. But you know what? We don't know what the next variant is going to bring. And maybe the next variant is as spreadable as Omicron and as virulent as Delta combined. And that would be disastrous. So, let's use our intelligence and our intuition to do what we know is right.
Well, I know we talk about a lot of people that didn't want to take the vaccine and they were waiting for a miracle, and the vaccine is a miracle.
Yeah,
I mean, it came so quick, and I mean, but people have been working on this for years too, right?
Yeah. We think that there's the mRNA technology is so transformative that we think that scientists now think that that's going to be the key to curing things like cancer, HIV, things that have been harbingers for us, medically, disease-wise, for decades, right? Decades. And if that happens, it will absolutely be a miracle, right? Absolutely.
Yeah.
It will absolutely be a miracle. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So, my personal opinion of this.
So I guess my response is yes. If everybody had taken the vaccine when they were able to, we'd be further along in eradicating it. I don't know if we'd have it completely eradicated, but we'd be much further along than we are.
In much better shape, and maybe the Omicron would not have been able to have been mutated. Because more people would have been vaccinated.
Yes, and people would be able to have toilet paper and muffins, which are very important things in everyday life.
Toilet paper and muffin are important.
Oh my God, not again.
Yeah. So I was just reading an article in Cyprus. They found a mutation of that is a combination of the Delta and the Omicron, and they're calling it the Deltacron, and they're actually studying it now to see how it's going to move and work and develop, and maybe it'll just die off and just we could forget about it.
Who comes up with these names? Because that sounds like an old disco from the 70s.
Right?
I'm going to the Deltacron.
The Deltacron.
Have a Tanqueray tonic.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm going to wear a mini skirt and be all shiny.
Yeah. And sweaty. Oh, those were the days. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, but like people get paid lots of money to come up with names like, for the products and stuff like that. It just kind of baffles me. Like, I think they're kind of actually, if I have to be completely frank and honest, they're like horrible names. Like it's just a reflection of like how unimaginative in the marketing world that scientists are.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I stole from you almost a year ago a vaccinative. I still haven't made T-shirts, but you saw that, and I've been saying it, and everyone has thought I was so clever by coming up with that. But here you heard it here on the radio. I stole it from Dr. Stately.
Well, I think I borrowed it from someone else.
Credit due.
Well, PG, thanks for being on again, and thanks. This was very, as all of them, very informative.
Yes, very informative.
We're still here. Right on. We're still here. We are the seventh generation.
Free Leonard Peltier. Stop line 3. Please get vaccinated and boosted.
Ho. We'll be back tomorrow.
Hi, this is Laura with